So we are now in PT Siemens Indonesia. We know that your company is a global technology company and has been around in this country for around 168 years. Can you elaborate more of what is your work, what is your activities, what are the role of Siemens of bolstering infrastructures in Indonesia so far?
As you already said, Siemens is a technology company that is changing the life of billions of people. We're active in 190 countries. One of them is Indonesia. And as you rightfully said, we are here for 168 years. And we started with installing pointed telegraphs. So connecting Indonesia to the rest of the world. And we were always in the same sort of business. So Siemens is in the business of resource efficiency and resilience. No matter which sector we are in, you will always find this topic of resource efficiency and resilience. And we did that with the pointer telegraphs, making it more efficient to communicate. We do this in Indonesia at the moment on energy. So new energy systems, generation of energy, transmission of energy. We do this with products, with solutions, with services, but we also do this in the sector of smart infrastructure, where it's also about energy efficiency, but also and distribution, but also about how to build factories that are more efficient in energy, in resources. How can we make them more resilient when it comes to supply chains, but also cybersecurity? These are all sectors where Indonesia is basically transforming the industry, but also the everyday life.
And amazing things that you did. Thank you so much for that. And because you mentioned about the subsectors of what Siemens did in Indonesia, the digital industry, the smart infrastructure, and the energy, can you elaborate more on the details of each groups or each companies that you do for the products and the innovations and the current projects that is going on, sir?
Okay. Maybe we start with the energy, because this is where all starts, where we transform different sources of energy. Mostly we are now concentrating on green energy resources to energy itself. So we do that with the generation, with turbines, hydrolyzers, turbines run by gas, and we can do this in the future with hydrogen. Then we transfer that energy over transmission lines. We also do the control centers to distribute that energy into the cities, where we go into distribution systems. So from the distribution systems, we then go to the buildings, and we also operate those buildings and make them smarter and make them more efficient, not only in climate and lighting, but also for resilience when it comes to security system, fire systems. So basically the whole chain. And we are also active in the part of advanced health systems. So you might know that when you went to hospital and something went wrong, then we also do those MRTs, for example.
Okay. And now that you have some keywords that I get from you is resilient and sustainability. In your personal opinion as a CEO, how does Siemens technology can improve infrastructures more resilient and more sustainable, sir?
When we talk about efficiency, the first thing that comes in mind is energy efficiency. So the generation of energy we make more efficient with our products. We do that in the transmission and in the distribution. So, and this energy efficiency then leads to a decarbonization, because people, when we talk about decarbonization, everyone is aware that there's a shift from fossil fuel to green energy. But also and we do that, but we also want to do the old forms of energy we need to make more efficient to decarbonize. We also talk about resource efficiency. So how can we make sure that the resources that we use are put in good use and not into waste? And this is leading to topics like circular economy, for example, recycling of material, but also just using of what we have in the most efficient way. And we talk about how can we make the best use of the human factor, which is then creating the topic of how can we be more people-centric? How can we create software more people-centric? And so all these sectors that Siemens is using, all of our portfolio is leading to being more efficient and therefore saving our environment and putting the human factor into good use, which is leading to human-centric.
This is so much related as what Indonesia is currently going on, which is the Ibu Kota Nusantara and its aspirations to be a smart cities. Now, about the smart city itself, sir, and Ibu Kota Nusantara, we know that in the first half of 2023, Siemens and the authority of Ibu Kota Nusantara has signed an MOU of corporations together. Any details on the working project with the IKN?
Yeah, with my pleasure. So at Hannover Fair, which was held in Germany, it's the biggest industrial fair held in Germany, we signed a MOU together with OIKN. How can we support the development of this blueprint city? And we really see it as a blueprint city, as a blueprint capital, where a lot can be learned because it's a greenfield project, and then later on put it onto a brownfield. And I think the biggest cooperation that we see there is that we are working together to get to this net zero target. And we have to do this in hardware. So what is the hardware we need to implement to come to most efficient way to distribute energy, to make the traffic more resilient, to get to new mobility concepts. But we also see this not only in the hardware, but also on the digital side.
Digital side.
Because Siemens is very strong and has a big portfolio in hardware, yes, but we are also very strong in the digital world. And what we
You mean software or services?
Software
okay.
and services. So combining the hardware and the software world in this digital twin, as we call it, will lead to a much more efficient way of planning. So, for example, we are planning together with IKN the new grid. So how could be a smart grid and how does that need to be designed? We do it in a digital form, learn out of all mistakes and planning habits that can happen, and then later on implement the most efficient way in hardware.
Wow, and the implementation of technology, especially in smart cities that use digital technology, are set to reduce the cost and consumption of their citizens and also improve their well-being, improve their lives. Can you explain the application of this concept and how does it turns into reality, especially in smart cities? How does it affect the people who live in smart cities?
I think one thing that needs to be understood is that the big cities are in competition, and they are competing for, of course, generating the best businesses, creating the most revenues in their cities, and that all depends on the people that live in the city. Now, the people that want to live in a city depend on how is the well-being in a city.
Yeah.
So cities compete on the standard of living, to get the best people in, to then create the best businesses, to then create the best revenue.
And the sustainability.
And they need to do this in a sustainable way, because that's what we learned. Yeah? If you don't do it in a sustainable way, the standard of life will deteriorate, and with that, the businesses and the revenues and the people. So in order to do this, a good planning needs to be done. And this planning you can do, of course, you can build a city and then see what's wrong and then try to change that. But that's usually really, really hard. Once the city is built, it's built. So what we are trying to do and how we affect this is with a digital twin, you can plan and you can see, for example, where traffic goes wrong. Yep. So you have digital twins of traffics. You see, oh, on this corner we do have a problem. We would need an additional line. Otherwise, the traffic gets stuck exactly on this position. And you can do a digital twin with that and then optimize the way from home to work already before you are starting to build the city.
That's for traffic.
And that's for traffic. The same thing goes for electricity. You can already plan, these are the industrial sectors that we want to have. And you see, oh, there might be a problem. If we grow too much in this sector, our electricity, it will come to blackouts. And you can also simulate that. So you already can make the right decisions in building a different grid structure to stabilize for growth.
In April, Siemens has this involvement in Indonesia in Hannover Messe. You mentioned about that you have this booth just around the Indonesian pavilion, and then you showcase something about your technologies while also having this MOU signing for the Ibu Kota Nusantara. But can you elaborate more on the event, and after those events, what are the potential collaborations of details of work together with Indonesia going forward, sir?
Okay, so I will start with a signature of the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with IKN. And basically the understanding was that we will share the technology that Siemens has on the digital twin, on how to develop and how to improve the development of this blueprint city of Indonesia. So as Nusantara should be a center of innovation, of course we want to attract people to Nusantara on the highest level. And this goes hand in hand with creating a work and a living environment that is on the highest level in the world. So a lot of planning is needed when it comes to the infrastructure, to mobility, to energy consumption. And we help now, together with our technology, on city planning, smart city planning, on the structure, and there we cooperate with IKN.